Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the What If. Chapter 73. The Hunt in Rio Part 3. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. February 21, 2010, 0700H local. Wow, T'Challa said in awe. I don't think I can last more than 5 minutes in a straight-up fight without a suit. T'Challa and Naruto are looking at the Hulk breaking through the storefront. Naruto had to admit that seeing the Hulk in person is a lot more intimidating than watching a video. 10 or so feet high with green skin and red-veined eyes. He took on more dangerous people, but the sheer primal force the Hulk is exuding is like facing a Biju for the first time, although a lot less pressure. Don't sell yourself short, Naruto started. You'll last 10 minutes before getting pounded to a pulp. T'Challa turned his head and looked at Naruto incredulously. You don't know how to talk to people, do you? T'Challa replied with a raised eyebrow. That's funny coming from you, mister. I'm always talking in an enigmatic whisper. Naruto countered, effectively shutting T'Challa up. How's the little princess anyway? You have a weird sense of when to start small talk. T'Challa commented, but Naruto just shrugged. He released an involuntary sigh. She's doing great. 10 years old and already finishing up her high school courses. I'm sure she would finish her college courses in 3 years. Maybe a doctorate in 4. What's that specialized course you guys have again? Wakandan parallel development in science and technology and a whole bunch of other things, but that's what I'm thinking she's going to take. T'Challa answered. God damn overachievers, Naruto remarked. Hey, that's my sister you're talking about. T'Challa rebuked before getting a bit more subdued. But she's really an overachiever. Naruto released a hearty laugh that T'Challa mirrored. The round of laughter only stopped when another roar came from the Hulk. Shouldn't you send the backup now? T'Challa asked. Not yet. Naruto reached for the handheld radio and opened up the line. Eric, how are you doing, buddy? Running. Eric briskly replied. What you want me to do now? I want to know how good of a shot you are. Naruto said. There's a billboard to your right. That should give you a great vantage point to snipe the Black Ops, dude. The ammo you gave me is kosher. What do you want me to do with it? Sow some confusion down there. We need to get them to back off for quite some time, and scaring the shit out of them would do just fine. They're special forces. They don't get scared easily. Not them, the general, or at least the people around him. Naruto corrected. Make enough trouble, and he has no choice but to regroup and wait out the storm. Even if he's a general, he still needs the military backing him. You're really an asshole, aren't you? Eric mused out loud. Fine, I'm going to get on shooting. Thank you, Naruto said before dropping the radio. I should call my backup. Yes, you should. They won't last long. The Hulk would turn his attention to the civilian population not soon after. T'Challa replied. Naruto nodded before disappearing. T'Challa opened up his Kimoyo beads that are projecting the battlefield a few kilometers away from them. This was done by a Wakandan satellite hovering over the area. This particular satellite is designed for his personal use and rarely checked by anyone else, so it's perfect for looking around. The Hulk is plowing through the Black Ops platoon. He's tanking the rain of gunfire and ripping through MRAPs and SUVs alike. He's attacking anyone and anything that catches its attention, giving particular interest to the people currently shooting. Blonsky's experience is working well for him. He was able to go through his magazines and 40mm grenade ammo without getting the big guy's attention. It looked like he had done this by firing at the same time as the others and hiding behind cover. How are they doing? Naruto suddenly asked. T'Challa put on his Black Panther helmet before turning around since he could feel that there's someone with Naruto. When he turned around, he saw a relatively tall woman with brown hair, wearing a full black tactical suit. She has 2 pistols hanging at her hips, along with a few short blades and magazines. However, her get-up's most striking detail is 2 gray gauntlets shaped like a small kite shield. Based on the lines running through the shield and its unnecessary thickness, it should be able to extend to a usable shield. As he was looking over the shield, he noticed that it was made from a very familiar metal. Naruto. T'Challa called out. Naruto hummed in acknowledgement. Is that vibranium? Yup. Found a vibranium meteorite in Madagascar. Had to purify the shit out of it, though. Naruto replied. T'Challa had no choice but to nod. Wakanda has essentially claimed every vibranium found in the country. They had also placed strict and paranoid guidelines for taking as small as an mg of vibranium out of the country. If a piece of raw vibranium is found out of the country, they adopt a non-contact policy about it. War dogs would keep track of the vibranium but would not interfere unless it could harm Wakanda. This is the same approach used when Howard Stark found a vibranium meteorite just outside of Wakanda. Anyway, this is, I want to say Miss America, but that's sexist. Captain Britain. Nah, sound like a cheap imitation. Naruto continued with his musing. His two audiences just ignored him and approached each other, trying to get a read. After a few seconds of stare down, the new arrival decided to break the silence. Prince T'Challa, I think it's only fair that I introduce myself since our mutual friend seems to be in his own world. Quote. The woman started. Hearing his name, T'Challa released an involuntary sigh. Of course, Naruto would blurt that secret out. With no point hiding his identity, T'Challa removed his mask to reveal his face. Depending on how extensive is Wakanda's knowledge on the world as a whole, you might have heard of me. She started. This caused T'Challa to skim through his memory, and the woman in front of him is triggering something, but he can't just seem to figure it out. I'm Margaret Elizabeth Carter, Peggy for short. T'Challa raised an eyebrow when he heard the name. Peggy Carter is a well-known figure, especially to the Wakandan royalties. This is due to her contribution to the Second World War and, more importantly, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s creation. However, as far as he's aware, Peggy Carter had died more than 2 years ago. Not to mention the fact that she's almost 90 years old. I have to say, I'm happy to see you alive and well, Ms. Carter. T'Challa greeted half-jokingly. Yeah, I have Naruto to thank for that, Peggy replied, giving T'Challa most of the information he needs. So, can you tell me how's the big guy doing? You should ask about the soldiers. They're getting pummeled. It's a wonder how they managed to last this long. T'Challa answered. We also have guys shooting them with incapacitating rounds from time to time. Peggy took only a second to process the information before turning around and tapping Naruto on his shoulder, causing him to turn around. Come on, I don't want the civilians to get caught in the crossfire, Peggy said. Okay, just wait for a second. Wear your helmet in the meantime. We don't want to mess up with your big debut, Naruto replied before walking towards the radio. I'm going to drop the backup 50 meters north of the battlefield, wearing an old-school tactical suit. Do you copy? Copy. It would be best if you hurried, though. There are only 10 combat-ready men left, Eric advised. I really thought someone like Blonsky would last longer. Naruto mused to himself before turning towards Peggy. Ready? Yes, Peggy answered before Naruto, and she disappeared. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. February 21, 2010, 0710H local. Emil Blonsky would never admit it, but he's having the time of his life. The thrill of the hunt, and now, the fight. Only his training gave him enough pause to give his men orders. But after 10 minutes of brutal back and forth, even Blonsky had to frown. It's fun when you have the chance to get out of the situation, but there's no thrill in the hunt if there's a 100% chance you would get pummeled to the ground. Add the fact that someone is shooting some form of tranq darts to the team, and you got a soldier's worst nightmare. Peggy was dropped somewhere north of the general area. She can clearly hear gunfire and destruction. Without missing a beat, the super soldier ran towards the highway. She took a moment to assess the situation before heading straight to the Hulk. A few meters before Peggy reached the Hulk, she jumped high off the ground and delivered a devastating punch straight to the green guy's face. This caused the Hulk to stagger backward. Ceasefire, 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 Blonsky ordered. He has no idea if the person is a backup or not, but he wouldn't want to take any chances. Take the injured and the dead out of here. See if there are any usable cars in the area. Make sure not to get the target's attention, he added. The team quickly followed his order and opened up civilian cars in the vicinity, and they started loading the downed teammates. While this was happening, Blonsky decided to do some information gathering. He first took out a portable video camera from his pack and set it down on the ground while pointing to the fight. He also started to collect as much of the incapacitating bullets as he can find. Maybe Ross could find something about it, as well as the unexpected appearance of the Killmonger. It's not like Ross could punish Stevens publicly since Rio is a Black Ops operation. "Sir, we're ready to go," one of Blonsky's men informed him. Blonsky took one last look at the fight before picking up the video camera and leaving. He's sure that Ross would turn red when he hears about it in the debriefing before focusing his attention on the apparent super soldier. The video would certainly give them some clues on the third party's identity. Peggy has been given quite the workout. More than what she usually experienced in field missions ever since she changed. However, this level is less than what she had experienced when Naruto trained her to get used to her new body. The female super soldier is using her speed to keep the Hulk's attention on her. She focuses on giving light strikes on her target's lower legs, especially the knees. This isn't enough to hurt the guy but just enough to annoy and slow him down. When she noticed that the soldiers are out of the general area, she started with the final step to force the Hulk out of Rio. Peggy jumped a few meters back, placing some distance between them. She pulled out one of her pistols, a 7-round Desert Eagle with modified .50 caliber rounds. Naruto had given her 4 types of rounds that might work in driving the Hulk off the city. The first one is a sonic round. This would release a localized burst of high-frequency sound the moment it impacts. Secondly, a stink bullet is made from a concentrated skunk spray. The third bullet is a simple flash bullet. Finally, a spicy round that releases a cloud of capsaicin crystals on impact. She received 3 7-round magazines of each ammo type from Naruto. Peggy opted to use the spicy bullet first to see how the Hulk would react to a different kind of pain. She fired 2 rounds towards her target, one to the face and one to the chest. A white cloud of capsaicin crystals surrounded the Hulk, which immediately sent him into a coughing fit. He kept on scratching his face and throat, trying to get rid of the burning sensation. He can't even concentrate on the cause of the pain. Seeing the spicy bullet's effectiveness, Peggy pulled out her second pistol and changed its magazine to a sonic round. She fired a sonic round and a spicy round in succession every 20 seconds. She takes a step forward with each shot she takes, hoping to push the Hulk. The super soldier is fully expecting the green behemoth to run away any moment now, but she underestimated his tenacity. Having enough of the circumstance, the Hulk blindly rushed towards Peggy's direction. She was able to dodge the charge, but the Hulk had quickly recovered and started sending debris towards her. The situation worsens as time goes on since the Hulk is mixing charges, throwing debris, and punching, effectively decreasing her window to fire some shots in. With no other choice, she holstered her guns and took out 2 grenades. One is a smoke flash grenade, which would disorient the Hulk, while the other is a spicy grenade. Combining the 2 would hopefully distract the Hulk long enough for her to get out while dissuading the Hulk from engaging the possible targets. She just needs to step in again in case her plan fails. Peggy crouched to dodge a car thrown by the Hulk before sliding the grenades to his feet. Not 5 seconds later, the 2 grenades exploded. It started with a loud bang, and a bright flash of light before smoke and capsaicin crystals started covering a section of the highway. She quickly turned back around and started running to a nearby building that would give her a vantage point of the Hulk. She could see the Hulk looking around for her after the smoke dissipated. His eyes are red from the capsaicin irritant. To her relief, the Hulk jumped high up into the air, presumably out of the city, after not finding his previous target. Wow, didn't expect the spicy bomb to work that well, Naruto said as he suddenly appeared beside Peggy. Don't worry, the big guy is already out of the city. That's good, Peggy replied while trying to catch her breath. I think my theory that Banner is somewhere inside the Hulk has been confirmed. Peggy flashed Naruto a questioning look, prompting him to continue. Well, he started jumping to the north. Of all the directions to escape to, why north? Because that's where Drive Banner was supposed to go, Peggy answered. Exactly, Naruto said with a toothy grin. Come on, let's get you back. Steve must be worried right about now. Triskelion, Washington, D.C. February 22, 2010, 0900H local. Quote. Currently, Banner is in Guatemala. I have a guy with him that would help him back stateside. Naruto recounted the events in Rio, making sure to leave some key details. Like the presence of the Wakandan prince and the not-so-dead founder of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that guy is Eric Stevens, right? Fury asked while leaning back on his chair. Yup. And what about the super soldier? What soldier? This soldier. Fury answered while pushing a button on his desk. A video projected behind him showing Peggy fighting the Hulk. Even the get-up looks a lot like the Cap. Huh, forgot about that part, Naruto stated with a straight face. Well, I found a super soldier and some vibranium lying around, so there you go. Before you ask, I'm not going to answer any question about the said super soldier. I need to know if somebody out there is creating an army of super soldiers. Fury stated with a stare. Only the usual attempts. Nobody even came close to a usable method. In fact, testing had dropped in the past year since some of the funds are funneled to the creation of an exosuit. Although Fury would never say it, he's released that Naruto's answer is in line with his intelligence report. Every country nation with a competitive military is currently working on recreating Tony Stark's Iron Man suit. This is due to the fact that creating a tech suit is more feasible than changing a body's physiology. It would also be more cost-effective, and would give more benefits like flight and armor. Even the US has dumped $10 billion for its development alongside Hammer Industries. So, what's the payment this time? Fury inquired. I got something different this time. Naruto replied while reaching for something beside him. He pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. Fury took the folder and opened it before showing an involuntary frown. I want one of your prospective enhanced operatives to disappear and release a scientist from your employ. I think their names are Ava Starr and Dr. Bill Foster. Chapter 74. Ghost. S.H.I.E.L.D. Field Office, San Francisco, California. February 25, 2010, 0800H Local. Dr. William Barrett Foster, or simply Bill Foster, is a brilliant biochemist currently employed by S.H.I.E.L.D. He's a 6 feet, African-American with brown eyes and black hair. During the 80s, he worked with the brilliant Hank Pym on Project Goliath. Goliath aims to create a reliable process of reversing Hank Pym's shrinking tech into enlargement. However, disagreement with Hank Pym and S.H.I.E.L.D. caused him to leave mid-project. There's only one reason why Bill joined S.H.I.E.L.D. again, is for family, and that's just what happened. A former S.H.I.E.L.D. colleague and a close friend of his, Elias Starr. Due to Hank Pym's influence, Elias has been forced out of S.H.I.E.L.D. and ostracized by the scientific community. This forced Elias and his wife, Catherine, to move to Argentina in order to continue his experiment with quantum energy and tunneling. This experiment is obviously dangerous for a number of reasons, but Elias shouldered on. 3 years of grueling hard work had brought Elias closer to his goal. However, fate has some other plans. On the night of Elias' final experiment, a catastrophic incident resulted in Elias and Catherine dying due to a quantum explosion. The same explosion that caused Ava Starr, his 6-year-old daughter, to acquire some rather unique powers. Ava had been dosed with massive amounts of quantum energy, causing every atom that integrates into her body to displace. This allows her body to enter multiple realities at any one time while also keeping herself anchored in one in quantum tunnel. The phenomenon effectively gives her the ability to phase through objects while also giving her a ghostly visage. Too bad this process gives her chronic pain. That's how Bill found Ava, in pain and scared of what's happening. He took her in until S.H.I.E.L.D. showed up a few months later. Ava was sent to a temporary housing facility where she was tested and her powers evaluated. This where S.H.I.E.L.D. realized her capabilities. Bill could feel S.H.I.E.L.D.'s intentions, so he did the only thing he could: he joined S.H.I.E.L.D. His presence there had allowed him to do 2 things. The first is to find a cure for Ava's condition, or at least alleviate it. Secondly, to stop S.H.I.E.L.D. from using her abilities for something else. Bill had been partially successful in his first goal so far. He had developed a quantum energy chamber. It uses the minuscule amount of quantum energy he could harness to stabilize her condition temporarily. It's not a cure, but it could help her temporarily alleviate her pain and extend her lifespan. As for the second one, he was able to prevent S.H.I.E.L.D. from giving her anything more than retrieval and infiltration missions. But it looks like he could only do so much. Dr. Foster, we thank you for your service. An agent told him. They were currently outside one of many field offices, with Bill carrying a box of his stuff and the agent preventing him from getting back inside. Bill had no other choice but to leave. Don't get him wrong, he would find his way back to help Ava. But he has to regroup for now. Bill dejectedly walked away from the office towards the nearest bus stop. He was thinking about what he should do next when an orange sports car stopped beside him. This immediately put him on guard. What are the chances that a recently sacked SHIELD scientist gets kidnapped? Pretty high. Dr. Foster, I presume? A blond man asked as soon as the car window rolled down. Yes, and who are you? Bill asked warily. I'm just the guy who has you sacked. The blonde replied while opening the passenger side door. The man could see Bill's reluctance. I can also help Ava with her small problem. He added before clarifying something. Help, not cure. Against all logical reasoning, Bill got inside the car. He placed his items in the back seat before locking his seatbelt. I thought you were smart. The man said with a chuckle, causing Bill's anxiety to rise. You should never get into someone's car of a stranger. Didn't anybody tell you that? Let's fix that problem, shall we? The man extended his hand. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Bill Foster, but you already know that. Bill greeted back while shaking Naruto's hand. You said you have a solution. Hold your horses. We got to establish some things. Make sure you understand what you and Ava are getting into. Naruto countered before driving off. First of all, whatever your decision right now, Ava would be sent on a mission where she would go, Mia. So she would leave SHIELD and be in my care in the near future. He explained. Your choice determines if she lives through the procedure or not. What do you need me to do? Bill asked. You need to upgrade the chamber to have Ava's body fully stabilized after treatment from 5 minutes to at least 30 minutes. I don't have the resources to get the amount of energy and resources needed to harvest that much quantum energy for that to work. Bill argued. Let me worry about that. Just write everything you need, and I'll handle it. If you accept it, that is. Naruto replied. Anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand. I have a few plans for Ava, and none of them involves her being unstable. What? You're going to use her as SHIELD would too? Of course, Naruto answered nonchalantly. He could feel Bill's negative emotions rise up. Oh, come on, get your head out of the ground. You should have expected her to do some unsavory things the moment she acquired the enhancements. If not this, then protecting herself from someone who wants her to do something like this. He continued. This way, she'll at least be able to help herself. I'm going to transform her training from espionage and assassination to special ops. No, she's not just some gun you can just use to point at someone or something. Naruto looked at Bill weirdly before releasing a full-blown laugh, causing Bill to look at Naruto. I don't need a gun. Naruto raised his right hand, causing Bill to focus on it. Naruto slowly lowered his hand to the steering wheel, and to Bill's surprise, his hand passed through it. Bill was about to make a big fuss about it when the same hand suddenly formed a translucent blue sphere made of unknown energy. I'm the fucking nuke. Bill looked at the sphere until it slowly disappeared. It put some things into perspective. As extraordinary as Ava is, there are a lot more things out there he doesn't know about. Let me get something straight, Naruto said as he stopped the car in front of a fairly large house. I don't need Ava for anything. I'm doing this to keep her out of somebody's hand, and I'm not talking about SHIELD. I'm talking about something much more sinister. Like, conquer the whole world. He explained. So, I don't care what you decide right now. That statement alone made Bill's decision. He can't help but feel he's making a deal with the devil, but there's not much choice. With a heavy heart, he said. Where am I going to work? Aransar, Baluchestan, Iran. May 5, 2010, 2130H local. This is such a romantic date, Naruto. Natasha said. A picnic set, a sky full of stars. She added. 2 kilometers from a black site nuclear research site, and spying on a girl. Oh, come on, you're the one who wanted to come with. You should thank me that I brought out the picnic set. Naruto argued. I'm not mad, really. Natasha replied. Just concerned that we're going to kidnap someone. Think less of it as kidnapping and more as a rescue operation. You gonna remember that we're giving her a new chance at life. Natasha released an audible groan before answering. I hate it when you're right. Naruto held himself back from commenting. 3 years of living with Nat and Jess had given him a few insights into the female psyche. He just held on to the small win. The plan itself is pretty simple. Fury would open up one intelligence report he's been holding onto. Something that could get Hydra's attention. Like maybe a Black Ops Iranian nuclear research facility looking into upgrading the nuke's effectiveness. Of course, they could use their own resources to get it, but who would want that? That's where Pierce would come in. Pierce would file a mission to S.H.I.E.L.D., and Fury would use a recently upgraded asset with a clean track record as a test run, Ava Star codename Ghost. For some unforeseen reason, Ava would go into full quantum decomposition even before she reaches the facility, leaving nothing but her suit behind, or at least that's what Naruto wants them to think. In reality, he would just rescue her away back to San Francisco. This way, Pierce won't be able to blame anyone officially. Sure, he might rant to Fury about it, but a valuable asset was already gone. Fury can also spin it as something of the World Security Council's fault. They were trying to get Ghost weaponized for a few years already, with Pierce spearheading the effort. All Fury has to say is that he granted their wish by removing the only holdup, Dr. Bill Foster, who also happens to be the point man for Ghost's primary care. Let's talk something else while we wait for Ghost to arrive, Naruto said while opening up 2 Coke bottles, one for each of them. Heard you got another long-term mission. Want to give up some details about that? He asked, genuinely curious. He has kept his promise to stay out of the girls' business unless it's an emergency or they asked for his help. Nope, Natasha replied with a cheeky grin. Besides, you'll know about it soon enough. There's no point in telling you about it. Oh, come on, pretty please, Naruto insisted with his puppy dog eyes. Too bad that Natasha has developed a certain amount of immunity to his charms. No means no, Natasha reiterated before she felt her phone vibrate. Besides, you know that a Quinjet is coming, she continued before standing up. Damn it, shouldn't have used it on the kinky stuff yesterday, Naruto murmured, causing Natasha to release a burst of full-blown laughter. He picked up the picnic set before following Natasha. So, how do you want to do this? What do you mean how? Aren't we just picking her up? Natasha asked. Yeah, but how do you want to approach Ava? Naruto said animatedly. Good cop, bad cop. Devil's offer. The angel's descent. The genie in a bottle. He continued on and on. Natasha stopped in her tracks and looked at Naruto incredulously. How can you have so much time in your hands to watch that many movies? Clones. Should have known, Natasha said with a shake of her head. She then proceeded on hiking towards the research base. Where are you going? Naruto asked. Intercepting Ava. Isn't that what are we supposed to do? Yeah, but she's that way, Naruto answered while pointing to the north of them. She doesn't need the front door. A barred air vent would do just fine. You tell me now, Natasha grumbled before walking towards the pointed direction. The pair walked in silence for another 10 minutes. Natasha was following Naruto's footsteps halfway through their short hike. Apparently, Iran is paranoid enough to place mine around the area. At the middle of the minefield, one of the air vents. Where is she? Natasha inquired. Right there, Naruto pointed in front of them. In that direction, a silhouette is walking towards them. As the person gets closer, they could see a woman wearing a white tactical suit and mask. The mask is a little creepy due to the red optics. However, she quickly stopped in her tracks when she saw the 2 people sitting on top of the air vents she was supposed to get into. Ava Star, Naruto called out when their target stopped a few meters away from them. You have time to talk. Ava didn't respond, but her lack of movement suggests that she's at least willing to hear them out. She tapped her ear as a message which was immediately understood by Naruto. At least there's proof that she's not loyal to S.H.I.E.L.D. Don't worry about the comms. From what they know, you're crawling through the vents right now. Naruto said, you've just been sold to me in exchange for a previous job. He paused when he realized what he just said. Wait, not sold, traded. That's not much better, is it? Fuck, can you help me out here, Nat? Natasha rolled her eyes at Naruto's obvious ploy. Well, obvious to her. Naruto carefully chose his words to further drive a wedge between Shield and Eva. Making Eva feel like Shield consider her disposable while Naruto is the person that wants her. It will instantly create some level of trust from Eva. Add the stupid act, and Naruto has basically created a relatively harmless persona. Of course, there's a chance that Naruto's scatterbrain tendencies just happen to come out now. This guy, here, Natasha pointed to Naruto. He got Bill Foster out of SHIELD for a few reasons. Chief of which is to allow him to do an experimental procedure on you that can remove most if not all of your pain. It can also increase your lifespan until a permanent cure can be found. Eva pointed to her mouth. Sure, you can talk. They won't hear a thing. Naruto informed her. How is he? Eva asked in a quiet tone. Bill, Naruto inquired to clarify, to which Eva nodded. Good, I think you have to ask him yourself. He answered. As for what he's done in the past 2 months, he upgraded the quantum energy chamber to last you for 45 minutes. More than enough time for the experimental procedure to finish. Eva took a moment to think about her options, and there are 2 ways she could go now. Continue with her mission and return to SHIELD, who have knowingly sold her, or go with the guy that can help her lessen her pain. It's basically a no-brainer. What do you need me to do? Eva let out. Naruto can't help but release a smirk at the question. The way Eva asked the question is almost exactly the same as how Foster asked his. He pulled out a small package behind him and threw it at Eva's feet. Change to the clothes I just gave you and leave your suit behind. Naruto told Eva. SHIELD would think you just entered a quantum unstable state and just disappeared. The only people who would know what happened are everyone here, Bill, top SHIELD officials, and maybe the World Security Council. He carefully chose his words so that if Eva ever finds out the whole truth, he can say that he never lied. Eva took off her mask. Nat and Naruto noticed her stoic face. She must have been used to the pain already. That's either good or bad, depending on how you look at it. Eva started to change out from her skin-tight clothes, so Naruto polite thing and turned around. A few seconds later, Nat tapped Naruto on the shoulder indicating that Eva was ready. Alright, let's get to it. Naruto grabbed onto Natasha before using Hiraishin to travel to the marker on the leftover package wrapper, which certainly surprised Eva. She would have reacted if not for Naruto beating her to the punch. Hold on to your lunch and stay on your feet. He continued before holding onto Eva's arm and disappearing. Chapter 75. Thread Overhead. San Francisco, California. May 5, 2010, 1000H local. As soon as they arrived at the place Naruto gave Bill to work in, Eva noticed something familiar but peculiar. The room they arrived in is divided into 2 parts. One covers 1/10 of the room, while the other is reserved for the rest. The small room has nothing special about it. The small room has one purpose from what Eva could see, to connect it to the hallway. However, the big room is something special. The big room's covered on all sides by a special glass Eva was familiar with. This is the same glass that covers the quantum energy chamber that provides her some sort of comfort. The only difference is the chamber in SHIELD has the size of a small room that only has room for a bed. The room Eva is looking at right now is at least 20 times bigger. There's a cabinet, a bed, and even a private full bath. Bill, you in here, Naruto shouted. This caused Eva to snap out of her stupor. A few seconds later, they could hear someone running down the steps. Not a moment later, Bill barged through the door. He could see 3 people in the room, but there's only one person he cares about. Eva, Bill called out while rushing towards Eva. He hugged her tightly, which was reciprocated by Eva, although a little slower. How have you been? He asked while looking at her face, checking for visible signs of injury. Natasha and Naruto decided to give the 2 some space. I'm fine. They didn't have much for me to do while you were gone. Eva answered in a subdued tone. They mostly tested how long I can stay out of the chamber without a visible decrease in performance. They're basically torturing you, Bill stated. It's not that far from the truth too. Eva's unique condition causes her to have at least a 7 on the pain scale. No, it's okay, Eva placated, but it was obviously a lie. Naruto decided to step in before the pair's conversation could spiral off into a different topic. Alright, as much as I want for you guys to catch up, I have an appointment in 4, maybe 5 hours. Naruto stated. Tony decided to do a final check for the Stark Expo that would open in 2 days. This time, most of the board of directors are present, as well as Pepper and Morgan. That's why he asked for Naruto, the ultimate bodyguard. It would also be the first time Naruto would show up in any Stark Industries executive events. The board directors have all been speculating on who's the guy with the third most number of shares with the company. So, Naruto decided to satiate their curiosity using one of his aliases. I also have something planned to remember, Natasha added. Oh, right, what time is that again? 5 p.m. in LA. That's not that far. You want to drive. Naruto's statement put on an immediate smile on Natasha's face, as expected of a car lover. And Naruto's car mods satisfy classists, speed freaks, tech, and engineering-inclined car enthusiasts alike. What do you suggest? The Bugatti Veyron Super Sport. Ooh, that will do, Natasha commented with obvious interest. Naruto then turned towards Bill and Ava. Here's what I want Ava to do. She's going to stay inside the chamber until she reaches maximum quantum stability. Naruto said. Ava followed the instruction almost immediately. Even without the possibility of losing her chronic pain after the procedure, she would still get into that chamber just to relieve the pain temporarily. You still haven't told me what you're going to do. No details on the procedure or anything. I still don't know how you were able to come up with this so-called procedure. Bill told Naruto with no small amount of doubt. In the past 2 months that Bill has been working with Naruto, they have been quite amicable to each other, even after the admittedly rough first meeting. However, there's just one holdout, Naruto not telling Bill about the procedure. It's understandable, really. Who in the right mind would believe that Naruto will use chakra to deal with a quantum problem? At least Bill would finally know how Naruto would do it. Naruto pulled out a few meals and gave everyone inside the room one. He gave Ava her meal before she enters the chamber. He ignored the questioning look from Ava and Bill before pushing a button on the console just outside the chamber. This activated the chamber, releasing orange waves. These are concentrated impure quantum energy harvested from the environment. Naruto gestured for everyone to sit down on a chair and signaled everyone to sit down too. He took a bite of his Hainanese chicken rice meal before starting his lecture. Tell me, Bill, what can you tell me about dark energy? Just a short explanation would do, Naruto said. Bill decided to humor Naruto's inquiry. Dark energy is an undetectable energy that has only been theorized due to its influence on everything in the observable universe. So, there's an energy, an invisible, undetectable energy, that influence the universe, am I correct? Naruto asked. Bill nodded since it's basically what he just said. Now, what's your opinion on chakra? It's complete hogwash. Bill automatically answered. See, why is that? Can't it be considered just like dark energy? No, since there is no evidence of it whatsoever. Bill replied. He turned towards Natasha when he heard a snort from her. And who are you? Agent Natasha Romanoff, S.H.I.E.L.D. Bill and Ava immediately went on high alert when they heard Nat's answer. My personal life and work life are different. They don't know everything that's happening when I'm not on active duty. I'm just a girlfriend visiting my boyfriend's work. And I'm just supposed to believe that. Believe it or not, I don't care. Natasha stated with a blank look. Besides, you should hear about what Naruto is going to say. Anyway, Naruto interjected while forming a Rasengan in his hand, pulling everyone's attention. This is chakra, or at least an unmodified version of it. At 10% power, this chakra ball can punch through 10 inches of steel no problem. How's that for affecting the universe? Bill involuntarily gulped. Working for S.H.I.E.L.D. has involuntarily given him enough knowledge on weaponry, and 10 inch of steel is pretty hard to get through. At 10% power, he could only imagine the damage at full power. Let's say for a moment that chakra is true. Bill started. What can it do to help Ava? Chakra can do almost everything, from healing a cut to dropping a moon on Earth. You can drop the moon. Naruto raised an eyebrow when Natasha interrupted with her question. Right, I shouldn't even ask. What I'm going to do is force open up Ava's atrophied chakra network by dosing her with my own. I can only dose her safely if there are no interruptions with her chakra network, and I don't want to do it inside the chamber since it might cause some unknown reaction. Naruto explained. It would be a long process. It would take 10 years before we could move on to the next step with the old chamber, but with the upgraded chamber and 45 minutes of molecular stability, that exponentially decreased the time frame to 2 months at most. If it were only 30 minutes, then it would take 5 months. What would that do exactly? Bill let out. Increased physical attributes, including pain tolerance, but that is just a stepping stone. Naruto answered. The next thing is mixing nature chakra to her system in small amounts. This can only be done while if there are sufficient amounts of normal chakra in her system. If there's an imbalance, Ava would slowly turn into stone. He noticed Natasha took a deep breath, but he continued anyway. He would talk to her later. Nature chakra should anchor her somewhat to one reality. The effect would be somewhat similar to the chamber, although a little less effective. Ava is listening in on the conversation. Although she doesn't understand a lot of the mechanics they're talking about, but there's one thing she could understand: less pain. It's more than enough to work through the procedure. We're going to begin the first session after the chamber has run its cycle. In the meantime, Nat and I are going to be upstairs. You two catch up, Naruto said before pulling Nat with him out of the room. Q ship, April 20th, 2010. A few jump points away from the Nova Empire's border in a peculiar ship, two figures are looking over one bound man. The two figures are members of one of the most feared warmonger groups in the known universe, the Black Order. Cull Obsidian is a massive reptilian humanoid, at least 12 feet in height with brownish-black skin. He usually carries an 8-foot-tall, 7-foot-long, two-headed pickaxe connected to his hand by a chain. His expertise in using his unique pickaxe, an enormous amount of strength, and an unusually high amount of agility enable him to mow down battalions of soldiers. This tank of the Black Order would be the perfect soldier if not for his admittedly low IQ. To fix this problem, Cull Obsidian is partnered with the second sharpest mind of the Black Order, Ebony Maw. Maw is a 7-foot-tall humanoid with white hair and pale gray skin. One of his distinguishing figures is the lack of a nose protrusion. Just like any member of the Black Order, he has one specialty: his overwhelming ability in telekinesis and magic makes him a very formidable long-range fighter and moving battery. Ebony Maw's usual job is to announce the culling, but he does other things too, and this task is something special. In his hand is a special staff that holds one of the most powerful objects in the universe, the Mind Stone. Just like the other Infinity Stones, the Mind Stone controls one aspect of reality. The Mind Stone holds the power to control and connect every aspect of the mind. From the most primitive all the way to the most complex minds, singular to hive. The Mind Stone itself is the cornerstone for upgrading two of their armies. One was transformed into a hive-minded conquering army while the other is an instinctual berserker-like army. However, this task is a lot easier than changing the mind of an entire species. They just need to flip the mind of one person. Loki Odinson, or what he just recently found out, Laufeyson, is a 6 feet 2 inches, 1,000-year-old magically modified frost giant who originally has blue skin with white markings and red eyes. However, a simple concealment changed his appearance to Caucasian-colored skin and black eyes. The Norse god of trickery and mischief is a master of Asgardian magic, illusions, shapeshifting, and short-blade combat. His main strategy in active combat is to use misdirection to cause chaos and confusion before striking at a critical moment. However, his ability lies in infiltration and descent missions. Jobs that don't require him to dirty his hands, just cause a collapse of an organized system. Asgardian, such proud people. Ebony Maw started while floating on top of Loki. So easy to predict. Loki mumbled something but his mouth is covered by a mouth cover. Maw waved his hand causing the cover to come off. Oh, you've made a big mistake coming after me. The Asgardian army would come down on you mongrels like waves on a beach. Loki stated in a tightly controlled rage. Ah yes, the all-seeing gatekeeper of Asgard and the Bifrost. Just imagine what a device like the Bifrost can do for our cause. The ability to travel in and out almost everywhere near instantaneously is just something we could never hope to replicate. Maw replied, brushing off the threat. But, your all-seeing gatekeeper can't see everything, can he, and you know it? Otherwise, you won't be able to sneak out of Asgard anytime you want. I figured out how to place a veil over the all-seeing eye of Asgard. Loki gulped involuntarily when he heard Ma's statement. Not many are capable of hiding from the gatekeeper's eyes. The only reason he could do it was due to the shadows formed by Yggdrasil to the primitive portals of Asgard. Without any support, he could only think of a way to get out of his predicament. His strength comes from his mind and his magic, and with him being completely tied up with magic negating binds. The only thing he could do is talk his way out of his situation, which he's pretty good at doing. All right, let's take this slowly and talk it out, Loki said slowly after he focused himself again. What do you need from me? Money, information. Nothing as crude as that. No, 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 Ma replied like he's talking to a child. We want your mind. My mind. So it's information. You know, even if you know everything about Asgard, you can't take it down. Loki answered. We can take down Asgard, although with considerable damage to our forces. Ma said through gritted teeth. But we don't have to do anything if we got you. You don't expect me to betray my family, do you? We don't expect you do. We know you do. Ma slowly moved the staff he's holding towards Loki's chest. Loki tried to free himself from his bind to no avail. The moment the staff made contact, Loki could feel an overwhelming amount of energy trying to invade his brain. He placed as much energy to protecting his mind, but it was all for naught. The power of the stone is just too much for anyone. Loki's eyes turned into a weird light blue shade before it returned back to black, probably due to the passive concealment. With another wave of Ma's hand, Loki suddenly lost his consciousness and his binding removed. Ma turned towards Obsidian. Bring him back to where we found him. Just drop him there, Ma ordered. Obsidian grabbed hold onto Loki's leg and dragged him out of the room. Ma waited for the door to be locked before pushing a button on the dashboard. Father, we have just released the Asgardian, Ma stated with absolute reverence. Good, a deep voice replied. We can finally remove a thorn on our side. There are only two armies that could ever hope to hold us back and one to defeat us. As long as we acquire a second Infinity Stone, we can defeat both Kree and Nova Empire. The voice continued. The Asgardian army is a whole different breed entirely, and I respect them for that. However, nothing can stop us from achieving our goal. If a little underhanded methods are required, then we shall use it. Of course, Father, Ma said with a bow. How would this humble servant be of your service? Gather intelligence on Terra. Yes, Father. However, if I may ask, why the sudden interest on a backwater planet? Proxima had detected an Infinity Stone. This confirms the reading 70 years ago. We should send the Chitauri, Father. Not until Asgard is dealt with. They are still under their protection. The voice countered. Just prepare them. The moment Asgard falls, we'll take the Infinity Stone and cull them at the same time. Chapter 76. Senate Hearing. Stark Expo, Queens, New York City. May 7, 2010, 2300H local. How far are we from DC? Tony asked. He received the subpoena from the U.S. Marshal. 250 miles. Happy answered. Tony revved up his new Audi Spider and driving off. Well, let's try to make it in 3 hours or less. Tony replied. Stark Expo has gotten off without a hitch. 20% of the $100 billion investment has already been recuperated on the opening night alone. It's projected that they would have a total income of at least $500 billion. The open show policy has really increased their profit margins since even their rivals like Hammer Industries can rent a pavilion for their products. The opening ceremony has also gained them some significant media traction, even more than they already have. Tony decided to go with the flashiest entrance, aka dropping to a fully choreographed performance from AC-130 15,000 feet high in his Iron Man suit. Pepper was not thrilled with all the scantily clad women dancing around him, but she understood the necessity. Speaking of Pepper, Tony had been giving larger and larger responsibility in the company to her. Just in case the worst thing happened to him. He could feel the palladium poisoning already slowing him down, and he's running out of elements to test from hydrogen to lawrencium and every alloy in between. Nothing could substitute for palladium. It's the perfect balance of radiation and power output. Perfect if not for the heavy metal poisoning. Tony has already looked into having the shrapnel surgically removed, but even the best surgeon only gave him only 10% survival. He's not about to risk leaving his family to a 10% chance. He could, of course, ask Naruto for any weird chakra voodoo stuff to help him, but only as a last resort. They were driving for around 20 minutes when Happy noticed a car following them. Not very discreet too, since it was a dark orange Lamborghini. "Tony, we got a tail," Happy stated while pointing behind them. Tony looked at the rearview mirror but he can't see through the darkened windshield. "A Lambo? Who the hell would tail someone in a Lambo?" Tony let out. "Isn't it better to use a shitty old car? Can a shitty old car catch up with your new car?" Happy countered. Tony took a left turn at the next intersection. Then another left. Then another left. Then another left. Basically, a typical maneuver for identifying tails, and it confirmed that the Lambo is following them. He was going to call a security detail when his phone rang first. "Hello," Tony answered automatically without looking at the name. "Why the fuck are you circling?" Tony heard Naruto reply. This obviously surprised both Happy and Tony. "Somebody's following Happy and I." "That's me, stupid. I'm your tail," Naruto answered with a hint on annoyance. "I heard about the subpoena from the Senate." "Okay, so why are you coming?" Happy asked. "Added security and as your lawyer." "Security I can get, but a lawyer?" Tony inquired. "Of course, a lawyer. You smartass are going to face a Senate hearing with no lawyer. They're going to use your ego, back you into a corner to get the suit." Naruto's statement silenced Tony. He's well aware of all his faults, including his ego. How could he not be? Pepper is always reeling him in when he gets too far. With a proper psych eval, the US government could just play him until they get just cause to get a suit. "So, what's your plan?" Tony let out. "I'm just an employee, but I can give you their options to go about it." Naruto answered cheekily. "Let's start with what I think you would do. You'll go there and assert the superiority of your designs. Maybe by using the videos on the prototypes." He continued. "Then there's a flashy way I want to do it." "Flashy way?" Happy mused out loud. They could practically hear Naruto's maniacal grin to the question. Capitol Building, Washington, D.C. May 8, 2010, 0900H local. "Mr. Stark, there's no need for a lawyer. This is just a preliminary hearing," Senator William Stern said with a friendly smile. William Stern is a 5'10" Caucasian with blue eyes, brown hair, and a pudgy build. This senator from the state of Pennsylvania had quickly risen up from being a businessman to the mayor to governor to a congressman and now a senator. In the last election cycle, he won the race with a landslide. Now, he heads the Committee on Armed Services. However, like every politician, there are skeletons in Stern's closet, and his are bigger than most. Stern's success in the election is because of one major factor. He's backed by Hydra. Hydra has approached Stern a little over 3 decades ago when he's still struggling to keep his business afloat. It started with a small help here, a favor there, until finally Stern has been indoctrinated to their cause. The task he's been given by Pierce is to acquire the Tony Stark suit by any means necessary, and he already has a plan. Stark having a lawyer could hinder his plan. "Hey, my man right here wanted to see Washington, so I brought him," Tony replied nonchalantly. "This is not a field trip, Mr. Stark. This is a nationally broadcasted hearing," Stern countered. "I know, isn't that better?" Tony said with a smile. "Anyway, we're here to talk about what you want. So let's talk about it." Stern released an involuntary sigh when he heard the statement. He can't exactly force Stark to remove his lawyer out of the room in national TV. It would cause a media and public relations nightmare. "Mr. Stark, let's start with simple. Do you or do you not have a specialized weapon?" Stern asked. Tony started, but Naruto had cut him off. "Senator, I am attorney Nicholas Union, accredited to practice law in 15 states. Naruto introduced as one of his established aliases. "We would like for you to define what is a specialized weapon." "The Iron Man weapon. The Iron Man suit is not a weapon. It's an armored personnel protection unit," Naruto argued. "To be completely honest, it's more like an advanced prosthetic. Some of its technology is already being tested for possible applications, commercial, athletic, and military." "It's a weapon. It's a weapon. It's a weapon," Stern said rapidly, obviously losing his cool. My task is to acquire the Iron Man weapon for the people of the United States of America. We can have our weapon specialist, Justin Hammer. As soon as Stern said his name, Justin Hammer walked in from a side door wearing a gray suit. If you look at him closely. I want it placed on record that I saw Justin Hammer walked in, but I don't see any specialist. Tony commented, causing everyone inside the room. Absolutely. I'm no expert. I defer to you, Anthony. Justin went on and on about a lot of stuff. Naruto and Tony just tuned him off until they heard something important. Howard Stark. Naruto leaned in towards Tony. Don't lose your cool with something as simple as that. Naruto whispered before glancing behind them. We got another one incoming. Remember what I told you about what your guy is doing? He added while opening up his briefcase and pulling out 2 folders. Tony immediately understood what Naruto is talking about, so Tony fixed up his suite. That is well said, Mr. Hammer. The committee would now like to invite Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes to the chamber. Stern announced. Tony stood up and walked towards the entrance. Rhodey walked inside the room wearing his formal military suit. The press all went wild and snapped multiple photos. The best friends met halfway. You know, my ramen-loving attorney over there just took out a folder a lot like yours. Tony said in a low voice. The ramen-loving part alone gave Rhodey all the clue he needs. How the hell did he get that? I just printed off my copy 20 minutes ago. Rhodey replied in disbelief. You know how it is. Tony shrugged before walking back to the table. Tony sat back down to his chair while Rhodey moved to an empty chair. I have before me a complete report on the Iron Man weapon, complied by Colonel Rhodes. And, Colonel, for the record, can you please read page 57, paragraph 4? Stern requested while opening up a folder. Naruto made a show of opening up both folders in front of him and slid it over towards Tony. He then pulled out his phone and typed in command but didn't send it. What are you doing, Counsel? Stern asked when he noticed Naruto's action. Just looking at what you're looking, Senator. Naruto answered. How do you get that? That's classified. No, it's not, Senator. It uploaded on the Senate website last night. Naruto replied with an innocent look. Last night in the hotel, Naruto had Jarvis hacked into the US Senate website and uploaded the file as a public document from one of Stern's Hydra assistant. He made sure to instruct Jarvis to make it look like an accidental upload. Everyone inside the room opened up their phones and laptop to open up the file Naruto talked about. Every news website is probably going to open up the file. Naruto had to stop himself from laughing out loud when he saw Stern's face turning pale. Rhodey figured that he should just go on with Stern's request and let Naruto handle the stuff since it looks like Tony and Naruto has a plan. Page 57. Paragraph 4. Rhodey started. As he does not operate within any definable branch of government, Iron Man presents a potential threat to the security of both the nation and to her interests. Senator, if we are going to select only a few parts of the report, then we should discard everything. We can't have one part of the report being right and the other being wrong. Naruto stated. The audience looked like they agreed with his statement. Colonel Rhodes, please continue. Another senator, McKinney, jumped the gun. Stern gave McKinney a nasty side glance. Rhodey smiled before continuing with a request he's more amiable with. However, the benefits would far outweigh the liabilities of folding Iron Man into an existing chain of command. Rhodey continued. I'm not a joiner, but I'll take Secretary of Defense if I have to. Tony joked, causing a round of laughter to break out. We can amend the hours a little bit. Colonel Rhodes, I'd like to go on and show, if I may, the imagery that's connected to your report. Stern tried to get his plan together. Rhodey shared a glance with Tony and Naruto, but they just gave him a subtle nod. He stood up and walked towards the television and took the remote. Intelligence suggests that the devices seen in these photos are, in fact, attempts at making man copies of Mr. Stark's suit. This has been corroborated by our allies and local intelligence on the ground, indicating that these suits are quite possibly, at this moment, operational. Rhodey reported. We have evidence of the contrary, and ours are a little more recent. We could show it here or at the media, wherever's more convenient, Senator. Naruto said with a smile. That's classified documents. We can have you arrested for disclosing that information. Stern exclaimed. So, You know that report is false, and you'll just roll with it. Good to know, Senator. Naruto replied with a shrug, camera flashing all around. Tony took out his smartphone prototype and aimed it at the television. After a few taps and commands, a series of coding lines showed up at the television Rhodey is using. Boy, I'm good. I commandeered your screens. I need them. Time for a little transparency. Now, let's see what's really going on. Tony let out. What are you doing? Stern asked, worried about what would happen next. HD video of several testing and experimentation on prototype suits opened up. Tony got the footages from Naruto last night. Before this, he would use intercepted video feeds too. If you will direct your attention to said screens, I believe that's North Korea. Tony started his presentation. Stern ordered for someone to turn the TV off, so Hammer stood up. Iran, Russia, China, and would you look at that, Justin Hammer. The video showed a bulky suit connected by wires, suddenly turning its body around 180 degrees. Ooh, that's got to hurt. Yeah, I'd say most countries, 5, 10 years away. Hammer Industries, 20. Justin finally thought of pulling the plug, effectively turning off the TV, before rushing towards his microphone. I want it to be known that the pilot survived. The media are going crazy about what's happening. It's obvious that Stern would do anything to have his hand on the suit. We don't have to go all through this hoops. Mr. Stark has agreed to provide an older generation Iron Man suit with a few concessions, of course. Naruto said while pulling something out from his briefcase. What makes you think we couldn't just arrest you and force you to hand over the Iron Man weapon? Stern countered. Because the US government will lose all access with Stark Industries services while the company itself would change its main base of operations to Canada. Quote. Naruto answered while lifting up a 30-page contract. This is the General Sales and Services Agreement between USA and Stark Industries signed 2 weeks after Mr. Stark continued the contracts. Article 17 was added on the insistence of US government. Quote. He continued. They felt like they needed to increase their hold on the company since some operations have been moved out of the country for diversification purposes. Of course, being the patriotic person he is, Mr. Stark has agreed with this admittedly constrictive contract. They wanted 60% of all weapon and related services to be sold to the US government alone from 40%. Quote. He stated. However, the US government can't take up all of our products, so we added a few clauses of our own. First of which is that we can invoke Article 12 on all existing sales and service contract if any of our conditions aren't met. Article 12 states that we can cancel all sales order and maintenance jobs, alongside the immediate payment of violation fee if any of the conditions are met. These conditions are set on Article 12 of the General Sales and Services Agreement and now, Article 17. Wait, Article 17 has only one condition. They could break contracts on Stark Industries' discretion if they proved that if an action severely impacts the company. A senator stated. Exactly. The Iron Man suit is already classified as a proprietary knowledge for the Stark Industries. If the US government takes the suit without going through us, we could lose as much as $1 trillion on the technology alone. Not to mention on actual profit lose. We would need to lay off as much as 100,000 people in the US alone, and that is if we cut everyone's pay and benefits. Naruto replied, I'm not so sure how the board of directors would react if they hear that they would lose as much as 20% of their income. Almost everyone who's even in the same planet as Tony's net worth understands that rich guys tend to frown upon losing money. Hammer would have been ecstatic with the prospect of stepping in with the vacuum Stark Industries would leave behind, but one simple problem keeps him from being completely ecstatic. As stupid as the US government is, the US military higher-ups are even more so. 70% of the US defensive network is anchored to Stark Industries ever since Stark proved that their proprietary algorithm is their best bet on protecting the country. Hammer Industries are just not capable of handling all of it. What are these conditions? Senator McKinney asked. I'm glad you asked, Senator. Tony said cheerfully. I just want 3 small things. Only I could do maintenance and usage of the suit alongside a small group from the military to oversee. When not in use, the suit can only be placed in one of my facilities. The generals present would grumble for a while, but they know that it would be easier for them to outsource the suit. However, Stern could feel his plan slipping away. Finally, I would like for Senator Stern to step down as chairman of this committee. That's not happening, Stern replied through gritted teeth before slamming down his gavel. Fuck you, Mr. Stark. Fuck you, buddy. We're adjourned. We're adjourned for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.